If your father testified against you in court, would you call it betrayal? Or would you call it love? Because after watching what happened in that courtroom, I genuinely don't know the answer anymore. What you're about to hear is one of the most wild, most heartbreaking, most jaw-dropping moments to ever come out of a federal courtroom in the history of rap. And that is saying something because we have seen some things in these streets. Pooh Shiesty, one of the hottest names to come out of Memphis in years. The man dropped back in blood. Linked up with Lil Durk, had the whole internet going crazy. Had the features, had the deals, had the momentum. The future was wide open. And then, the feds knocked on the door. But that's not even the part that broke the internet. The part that broke the internet, the part that had people losing their minds on Twitter, on IG, in group chats everywhere, was when Pooh Shiesty's own father stood up in that courtroom and did what nobody, and I mean nobody, expected. He snitched on his own son, and then apologized for it. Stick with me, because this story goes deep. For anyone who needs a quick refresher, Launtrell Denell Williams Jr., known to the world as Pooh Shiesty, is a rapper from Memphis, Tennessee. Born in 2000, he grew up in the same gritty environment that shaped 3 6 Mafia, Young Dolph, and a long lineage of raw, unapologetic Southern rap. He signed to Gucci Mane's 1017 Records, which, if you know anything about the rap game, is basically a stamp of legitimacy in trap music. His debut mixtape, Shiesty Season, dropped in early 2021 and went platinum. Tracks like Guard Up, Neighbors, and the monster collab Back in Blood with Lil Durk weren't just hits. They were anthems. The kid was 20 years old and already had the whole game watching. But here's the thing about the rap game and life in general, sometimes the streets don't let you just walk away. Sometimes your past is following you even when you're already running towards something better. And for Pooh Shiesty, the past caught up fast. In October 2021, Pooh Shiesty was indicted on federal conspiracy charges related to a shooting at a Miami hotel in May 2020. According to prosecutors, a deal to buy stolen goods went sideways, shots were fired, a victim was shot in the buttocks, and now there were federal charges on the table. Let me be clear, in the federal system, things move different. This isn't a state case where you can maneuver and maybe get lucky with a jury. The federal conviction rate sits somewhere north of 90%. When the feds come for you, they come with everything: surveillance, witnesses, financial records, phone data, and yes, family. Pooh Shiesty was looking at potentially decades behind bars. His legal team was fighting. His fans were rallying. The Free Pooh movement was real. People were wearing shirts, flooding comment sections, signing petitions. But the courtroom doesn't care about petitions. Now here's where it gets complicated. Here's where it stops being just a rap story and becomes a human story. Pooh Shiesty's father, Launtrell Williams Sr., is not a stranger to the legal system himself. He's a man who has lived hard, made choices, and watched his son try to build something out of talent and ambition in an environment that doesn't always reward either. When he took the stand, the courtroom got quiet in a different kind of way. He looked at his son, and he began to speak. What came out of his mouth was described by people in the room as one of the most emotionally complex things they had ever witnessed in a courtroom. He apologized. Not in a quick legal way. Not in a scripted, lawyer-coached way. He broke down and he told his son, in front of the judge, in front of the prosecution, in front of the cameras, that he was sorry. Sorry for not being there more. Sorry for the environment. Sorry for the cycle. And then, in what the legal world calls cooperation, what the streets call something else entirely, he provided information. Details. People who sat in that courtroom said the whole atmosphere shifted when his father spoke. Shifted towards something more human. And maybe that was the whole point. Things that, whether intentional or not, painted a picture that the prosecution could use. He was not a formal cooperating witness in the traditional FBI informant sense. But the information he provided in that proceeding, the way he spoke about events, about his son's character, about what he knew, cut both ways in that room. Some people saw a broken father trying to save his child by showing remorse, by humanizing him, by making him more than the charges on paper. Some people saw something else. And the internet, as the internet always does, had opinions. Twitter went nuclear. Like genuine chaos. People were quoting the moment, dissecting it, debating it in real time. One side said this man was trying to help his son, showing the judge a real human being, a family, a relationship, not just a mugshot. That he was throwing himself on the mercy of the court on behalf of Pushurasti. And that takes a kind of courage and desperation that only a parent can understand. The other side? They were not having it. The discourse around snitching in hip-hop culture is deep. It goes back decades. In the culture, you don't speak to investigators. You don't cooperate. You don't say anything that can be used against someone you love. Period. And now here was a father, crossing that line for reasons that nobody outside that family could fully understand. Old heads were on live streams saying this was a betrayal. Young people were saying this man was grieving in real time and trying to save his kid any way he could. DMs were leaking. People who claimed to know the family were giving context. The blogs were running with headlines. It was everywhere. In May 2022, Pushurasti was sentenced to 63 months in federal prison. That's 5 years and 3 months. Given what the prosecutors had originally sought, many legal observers considered this a relatively measured outcome. His legal team had worked hard. His conduct, his age, his background all played into the sentencing considerations. Was his father's emotional testimony part of why the judge showed some degree of leniency? Nobody can say for certain. Judges don't telegraph their reasoning in neat little boxes. But people who sat in that courtroom said the atmosphere shifted when his father spoke. Shifted toward something more human. And maybe that was the whole point. Tone becomes reflective and editorial. Here's what I want people to take away from this, because it would be easy to just log this as another rap beef, another court drama, another internet moment, and keep scrolling. But this story is about fathers and sons. It's about what happens when the systems we live inside, poverty, street culture, the music industry, the justice system, all converge on one family. It's about a man who watched his child become famous, watched him succeed, and then watched him get swallowed by the same world they both came from. And in that moment, with cameras and prosecutors and a judge watching, he made a choice. Not a perfect choice, maybe not even the right choice, but a choice that only a parent in despair can fully understand. Is it snitching if you're a father trying to save your son? Is it betrayal if you believe telling the truth is the only weapon you have left? These are not easy questions. And anyone who answers them quick probably hasn't been in a room that hard. Pushurasti is doing his time. He's spoken publicly about growth, about coming home better. His fans are still riding for him. And somewhere out there, his father is carrying something that no headline is ever going to fully capture. Every week we pull back the curtain on stories the blogs summarize in 2 paragraphs. This is what's underneath. Stay locked in. That's the story. That's the full picture as best as we can paint it. If this video hit different for you, if it made you think, made you feel something, drop it in the comments. Subscribe if you're new. And if you've got a story you want us to break down next, leave it below. We don't just cover the rap game. We cover the real behind the rap game. Stay locked in.